Katie here, welcome back to my channel. Today's video, we are going to do a let's talk about it video, and we're going to talk about unpopular opinions, and I've gotten these unpopular opinions from Reddit. I'm going to be reading the opinions that were posted, and then I'm going to say if I agree or disagree. So, the first one is, texting while driving is on the same level as drinking and driving and should be punished as such. They both are just a blatant disregard of other people's safety as a whole. The only difference is the consumption of alcohol. It's the same level of selfishness as a DUI, but not punished the same is extremely unfair. Yeah, I agree with that. I think distracted driving is distracted driving, and it should all be punished the same. So yeah, I mean, I agree with that. The next one is, I like my pizza sliced unevenly. It gives me a variety to choose from. Usually I'll grab big pieces first and then end on just a small piece when I'm still hungry but not hungry enough for a full slice. When I cut my own pizza, I cut it unevenly, intentionally. I don't agree with that. As, like, someone who kind of, like, I like things to be even. So, I don't agree with that. I think you're crazy. In a loving way, sort of. Next opinion is, I would much rather go up against a jury of legal experts than a jury of my peers. A few things to preface. 1, I am an American, so this is geared towards countries with similar legal systems. 2, I have not committed any crimes. This is purely theoretical. 3, I am not a legal expert. I recently attended a symposium regarding the current state of the U.S. justice system. One of the speakers was an individual who had been wrongly convicted and exonerated for a murder that took place a few decades ago. It was absolutely heartbreaking. His jury took less than 4 hours to sentence him to life in prison. One of the main points that stuck with me from his presentation was that he did not blame the jury. The way the prosecutor presented the facts, the way his defense lawyer failed to properly defend him, and the manner in which he was arrested were the main issues that led to his wrongful conviction. If I were to ever be wrongly convicted of a crime, I would never want my trial to go through a jury of my peers. All too often, it seems that our judicial, I can never say that word, system is set up to disqualify innocence instead of proving guilt. It says in parentheses, I see these as two very different things. Instead of having a jury of your peers, a jury of legal experts would allow another lawyer of defense to protect the defendant. They could question how the information is presented to them, and I believe could help prevent wrongful convictions that, unfortunately, seem to be all too common in our society. I understand the logistics of this would be a nightmare, and the pool of potential jurors would drastically decrease, but having this as another potential option could help those who were truly being wrongfully committed of a crime, and would be my personal choice in the matter. I do understand this. I do agree with this. I know when I went to jury duty, I felt like I wasn't qualified to be doing that. Like, how do I decide? And mine, when I went to jury duty, mine was something very, very, like, little. It was a little thing. And then you have people just like me every day going out and, like, sitting on a jury for murderers and, you know, rapists. And how do you not let your feelings control that? And you can say all you want, oh no, this wasn't an emotional thing, it was the facts. But how many normal people can honestly 100% put their emotions, their feelings, their personal opinions aside and say whether someone is guilty or not? You can't. I mean, I think maybe for smaller things, you know, a jury of peers wouldn't be a bad thing, but if you're facing like life in prison or the death penalty or something very, very serious, I would definitely, you know, I would want, if that were me personally, I would want to have a jury of legal experts, because then they know, you know, and they know what is allowed to be presented and what isn't, because lawyers like to do this thing, you see it a lot in TV shows, where they'll say something they know they're not supposed to say, the other lawyer will say objection, and then the judge will say, okay, the jury, you know, should dismiss what the lawyer said. But how do you really get that out of your head? Can you really get that out of your head? I don't think so. You know, lawyers like to like plant that little seed of, oh, this is this, and then the other lawyer's like, no, you can't say that. And the judge is like, okay, well, the jury just forget about it. How do you, especially if you're going through like a long trial and things start to get like jumbled up, how do you just forget the little things that you're not supposed to remember? You know what I mean? Like, especially if it was like something that made you go, whoa, you know. So I think very small charges should be a jury of peers, and bigger charges should be a jury of legal experts. Simple as that. I agree with this poster. Okay, the next opinion is, I hate showering. It's a waste of time. I hate having to do it. I still do because I like being clean, but if our bodies clean themselves and there is no need to shower, I would prefer it. Hate having to wake up early to shower or do it before bed. I'd rather do other things. It takes forever because I have long hair too. I also hate showering. I don't know if it has to do with like, I have so many other things that go on in my head that I need to do, I have to do, that showering is like, oh my god, this is going to take away from other things that I need to do. And I don't know, just the whole thought of like having to get undressed and then like getting, you know, wet and then having to like dry yourself off, and then like, I hate showering. I agree with this opinion. Showering sucks. I still do it, of course, obviously, because you have to, but I wish I didn't have to. It sucks. The next thing, or the next opinion, is a very long one. So, zoos are a good thing, and we should be supporting them. It says, disclaimer, I am an American, so my perspective stems entirely from my experience with American zoos and sources specifically pulled from the AZA site. I want to start by saying that I firmly agree that forced captivity of a living creature, human or not, is unethical. I do, however, think the conversation surrounding the ethics of zoo lacks a lot of nuance that needs to be considered when passing judgment on whether or not zoos should even exist. One reason, and also the most glaringly obvious, zoos are essential in maintaining biodiversity among plant and animal life. Countless species would already be completely extinct if it wasn't for zoos, like tigers, gorillas, and rhinos, just to name a select few. Adding on to this, zoos fund breeding programs that continue to build the number of endangered species. Adding on to that, most animal species have increased the lifespans in captivity that even helps prolong breeding eligibility for those breeding programs mentioned prior. However, the conservation efforts extend far beyond the zoo ground themselves. The primary reason I support AZA-affiliated zoos is due to the substantial conservation efforts funded by the zoo's annual revenue all around the world. The zoo I visited the most in my life, the Toledo Zoo, ooh, me too, is very transparent about how their funds are utilized, and they even have monthly issues documenting their success globally when it comes to conserving animal and plant life. Countless other zoos follow suit. The AZA site is extraordinarily thorough summarizing, but the zoo websites themselves also show exactly how much of their budget goes towards conservation. And finally, just the fact that I can never say it. Exhibits, I'm just going to say exhibits, have greatly evolved for the better in the last several decades. Animals are not locked in barred 6x6 cubes their entire lives like they were in the 40s, and although captivity is not ideal for all species, like great whites, it would be inaccurate to compare modern-day acres-wide fields to those prison-like structures of yesteryear. Modern zoos also emphasize the importance of natural features and providing sufficient mental stimulation for all creatures, and although it may not be ideal since it isn't a wild, I truly feel it is the best case scenario given the alternatives. We are all aware that an animal belongs in the wild, but humanity is a selfishly evil species. Zoos are the best we can do to keep our world diverse. And then it says, edit to add, this does not apply to all zoos. I'm referring to accredited zoological institutions affiliated with the American Zoological Association. And then it says, fuck circuses and Joe Exotic style sideshows, and anything else that counts as a shit zoo. So, I 100% agree with this. A lot of people will say, oh, animals belong in the wild, but then you have poachers and people. People are the reason that we have to have zoos, because people have to kill and destroy everything. And there are some zoos that need work. They need to figure it out. But there are other zoos that are amazing. I mean, I've gone to the Toledo Zoo and the Detroit Zoo mostly in my life, because those are the two closest to where I live. And, you know, especially, I've been to the Detroit Zoo most recently. And their habitats are way, way, way different than they were even 5-10 years ago. And they're different in the way that it's more like the habitat that the animal would be in if it were in the wild. And, you know, like this person says, you know, conservation, that's the main thing. How many animals would be extinct right now if it weren't for zoos? I was actually watching a Camp Kennan video on YouTube yesterday where one of his friends and reptile, just a friend in the reptile community, is actually responsible for breeding this specific reptile. I'm not good with reptile names. It looked like an iguana, but there were literally only 12 in the United States, and they're all in captivity. Like, they're extinct beyond captivity. And his goal, his job, because these animals belonged to a zoo, and then they were given to him, so he could breed them to conserve the species, because there's only 12 in the United States. And their goal is to eventually, once they, you know, have enough bred or, you know, are able to breed these iguanas, these reptiles, is to put them on an island that they used to inhabit it, in hope that they can, you know, not be extinct anymore. So, I mean, there are definitely a lot of places that are amazing, and I honestly think we should be funding zoos, because we are the reason that these animals are going extinct. I mean, look at the lady that literally got trampled by the elephant, and then the elephant crashed her funeral, and it was because this lady was involved in throwing rocks at the elephants so that the poachers could grab the baby elephants and steal them. we humans destroy everything. And, I mean, zoos are a great way if we're going to keep destroying wild animals and their habitats and everything. Zoos are the only way that we're going to be able to do anything. And I think more people need to fund the zoos so that way they can provide enrichment activities for their animals. I recently saw a video on Facebook of a zoo. They were celebrating the beginning of Pride Month, and they made some kind of edible paint for one of their cats. Was it like a bobcat, or it was some kind of cat, and they had made it into a rainbow on the glass enclosure, and the cat just sat there and like licked it off all day, and it was happy, it was enriched. And I think that more zoos need to focus on that, and we need to fund the zoos that are going to focus on that, and shut down the zoos that aren't going to focus on it. The next unpopular opinion is destination weddings are the worst. Weddings in general are bad enough. I will always attend if it's close family. We were just informed that my wife's niece is getting married in a few months, and by the way, the wedding is in Disney World, Florida, and everyone is expected to attend and at our own expense. Are you kidding? We live 1,200 miles away, and the cost is going to be a huge burden on many of us. We figured around $2,500 per person. It's already causing arguments between family and siblings, but they are demanding we be there. Don't financially burden other people with your wedding plans and get pissed off when they don't show up. That's just being selfish. I agree. I think destination weddings, they can be great if you can afford it and if your guests can afford it. But if you know your family and friends' financial situations, don't invite them to destination weddings, and don't make them feel bad if they can't attend. There's no way. $2,500 per person for my family would be $10,000 for us to go to this wedding. We don't got $10,000. We could do a lot with $10,000 and not go to a destination wedding. I mean, especially now when times and everything is so expensive, to expect people to do that is ridiculous. I agree. Destination weddings are the worst. Next opinion. Playing hours of video games is the same as binging hours of your favorite TV shows. Got shamed the other day by a friend that I spend too many hours playing video games, as they were trying to get me to watch all 6 seasons of their favorite show. I agree. The only difference I could see between playing hours of video games and then binge watching shows would be you can do other things while binge watching shows. I know I do painting, I do Girl Scout stuff, I do all kinds of stuff binging shows that I wouldn't be able to do playing video games. But if you're just gonna sit there for 6 hours and just watch TV, then that's the same thing as playing 6 hours of video games. So I agree with that. Okay. Our next opinion. False self-harm threats should have consequences. I understand this may sound bad, but most suicide threats are used as a form of manipulation. Men and women in relationships that are on the rocks are constantly threatening to kill themselves if the other leaves. Using the threat of suicide to get their partner to stay has become a common occurrence to get people to stay or keep contact. It's a form of domestic abuse, and it should be punished. And it says in parentheses, before you jump down my throat, yes, I believe people that are actually suicidal and depressed, and I'm not trying to take away from that. I know those people. I would bet $100 the actual suicidal person is pretending to be okay instead of trying to get attention. I feel that every person who seriously threatens to kill themselves or tells someone else they are going to kill themselves needs to be evaluated. I'm not talking about the jokes, obviously. There would be some discretions. But every single man or woman who has called someone in the middle of the night to threaten suicide and manipulation, every person who fakes taking a bottle of pills, every person who maybe even takes pills knowing that they will be rescued, rehab, or fine. Oh, you didn't mean it? A fine for eating resources and times. Oh, you did mean it? Rehab. And then it says, Edit to add, wow, I did not realize my post made it sound like I thought all threats of self-harm should be punished. I 100% do not believe that. My original title was all fake, fabricated self-harm threats should be punished. What I meant by this is people who in no way have any intention to self-harm but threaten to for attention, etc. should be fined. I did not mean that people who think and struggle with the idea of doing it on a daily basis should be punished. My intention of this post was to say that the people who joke about it / use it for manipulating should have repercussions because they take away from the actual people who need it. I agree. I have known tons of people over the years. I particularly had one friend who would always tell me that she was going to kill herself. And, and I also had another friend who actually did try. And there was a big difference between the way the two of them acted. The one who didn't actually mean it was doing it 100% for attention. And the other one, didn't really talk about it. The only time she talked about it would be like right before it happened. And she actually did try, and that's a whole nother story. But people who do it, especially like for manipulation, like, oh, if you leave me, I'm gonna kill myself, I'm gonna do this, I'm gonna do that. Those people should be, I don't know if they should be punished more, well, depending, it's hard, because you never know if it's really part of their mental illness or if they're just doing it to be manipulative. I think that would be like the issue with like punishing people that are doing this. Would be, did they really, is it part of their mental illness, or were they just doing it because they knew it would work? So, I don't know. That one's iffy for me. Like, I agree, but I also disagree. Next opinion. I think everyone should have a chance to legally change their first name when they turn 18. It's not really a birth name, rather something mom/dad chose. Nothing a person signs under 18 is legally binding, right? Some children are given names that have been traumatic and or will be hindering for their future. Shouldn't this be an option instead of the lengthy and sometimes unsuccessful existing route? I agree with this. I personally don't have an issue with my name, but I mean, we have people out there that have terrible names. And it is a very lengthy, unsuccessful route that people have to go through to, get their name changed now. And if it was something that was offered, when you turn 18, that would be a lot better for a lot of people. Okay, next opinion. You should not hold up traffic to let a pedestrian cross. As a lifelong pedestrian, I used to be thankful, then grew to be annoyed by the gesture, and now it has become a hatred with my yelling at the driver to go. We, pedestrians, have crosswalks at intersections and other parts of a street. We do not need nor should cross in the middle of traffic. Look, I can stand there all day waiting for you to go. I should not have to yell at you to actually go when you had the right of way the entire time. You are holding up traffic, you are being honked at. We know some people are crazy and have road rage. You think they will attack me? They are going to attack you for holding them up 15 seconds. I should not have to keep waving and shouting at you to just go. Yes, of course, there are times when the nearest crosswalk is a block or two away. We have to cross right here, but you know what? We can wait for a lull and passing cars. Just keep driving. Trust me, we are fine. I don't think you should speak for all pedestrians. Just because you get annoyed when people stop for you. I mean, pedestrians do have the right of way. Always. Right? Isn't that like the law? Pedestrians have the right of way. I think you are seeing too much into it. Just be thankful that somebody's thinking about you. I mean, I don't think you should speak for all pedestrians because obviously everybody feels differently. So I don't agree with that. Next opinion. Pizza is best when it has more sauce than cheese. No. As someone who has a really tough relationship with pizza sauce, like, it hurts me. Yeah, no. More cheese is the best, in my opinion. So I do not agree with that opinion. Okay, last opinion. Burger King fries are better than McDonald's fries. McDonald's fries have a better reputation but are actually worse. Burger King fries are thicker and just taste like, well, potatoes. McDonald's fries, they put tons of flavoring on them to make them taste like they are fried in beef fat. They are not anymore, by the way. The aftertaste is almost chemical. Also, they are too thin. I personally don't like Burger King fries. I like the thinner fries that McDonald's have, and they taste better. So I don't agree with that one either. So that was just a few unpopular opinions from Reddit. If you guys like this video, I'll do another one. But thank you guys for watching. Let me know your opinions on these opinions, and I will see you guys in the next video. Bye.